Hi everyone, my name's Jamie Humphries and I'd like to welcome you to video number 4 in my 5 video series looking at the 5 faces of the Fillmore 50 combo. Now for this video we're looking at the genre of classic rock, and although there's been no specific band in mind when I've come up with this track, I guess that my subconscious inspiration has come from bands like Cry of Love, the Black Crowes, Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin, and there's probably many other bands that you will hear me reference in this track. But as I say, there's no particular band or track in mind. This is just my interpretation of kind of classic rock with a bit of a kind of 70s twist to it. During this video I've used several different guitars, some different tunings. 12-string guitar has come out for this, and as with the other videos in this series, we've been looking at different types of tones and applications for this amplifier. First of all, we're going to take a look at the track, and please stick around to check out the isolated examples where I'll be going through all of the tones that I've used in this performance. So yeah, hope you enjoy the performance and see you back here in a moment for the tones. Okay, let's take a look at our first tone, and this is the tone that you'll hear during the introduction and the verse. As I've already said, this is like a 70s inspired classic rock track, so a lot of the rhythm parts are using a more mild overdrive. I used several different guitars. For the main bulk of the track I was using this guitar, which is a Music Man Reflex, but it's the Reflex with the Game Changer circuit, which enabled you to rewire the pickups in different configurations, series, parallel, lots and lots of different options tonally with this guitar. I'm using the bridge humbucker, but I've split it, so I'm using this kind of forward single coil pickup, not too close to the bridge. I didn't want it too thin and biting, but I wanted to have a little bit of sort of space around the notes, especially using the open tuning where I'm using some open strings. So I'm on half power mode, I'm on channel 2. No particular reason why I'm on channel 2 apart from how I was auditioning the sounds, and I just so happened to set that channel up for this sound. I'm on the drive mode, You know, able to get a fair amount of gain out of it, but I've got the gain control set at 2 o'clock. The treble is around 12 o'clock, whilst the mid-range is at 11 o'clock. The bottom end is up on about 2 o'clock. The presence is just back from 12 o'clock. The reverb is just on around 7 o'clock. And the master volume is up at about 10 to 11 o'clock, somewhere between 10 and 11 o'clock. So I wanted quite a thick sound. I wanted that kind of old school British sound, but I didn't want it too driven. I wanted the notes to be able to ring through using the single coil setting, but I didn't want it to be a particularly bright sound. So going for quite a thick sort of tone here. So anyway, let's have a listen to the introduction and the verse riff so you can hear that tone isolated. Now let's look at tone number 2, and this is the chorus section of the track, and I actually stuck with the same setting that I used in the intro and the verse. So why is this tone number 2? Well, the difference here is that I'm using humbucking pickup this time as opposed to splitting this single coil. I wanted you to hear how that sound or that tone reacted, or the difference between using the single coil that had a little bit more space for it, using the open strings in that verse riff, to having it set to the humbucker for a little bit more power, a little bit more thickness during the chorus section. So one more time, the setting that I'm using there, still on half power mode, as it's the same setting. The drive mode, gain around 2 o'clock, the treble is up on 12 o'clock, mid-range around 11 o'clock, the bass about 2 o'clock. The presence is just back from 12 o'clock, the reverb is on 7 o'clock, and the master volume is around 10 to 11 o'clock, somewhere between 10 and 11 o'clock. Like I said, it's the same tone that we heard, but we're just using the humbucker pickup now so you can compare how that setting sounds between the single coil of the verse and the humbucker of the chorus. Let's have a listen to the chorus part. Now let's take a look at tone number 3. And for tone number 3, I'm using my double neck, and I wanted to reference a bit of Jimmy Page during the middle section of the track. I'm using the 12-string tuned to open G tuning. I was kind of going for that slightly kind of jangly, scooped tone, although I'm using the bridge humbucker of this guitar. I've got a very mild overdrive, so it's just sort of starting to break up a little bit. So I'm on channel 1 for this. I'm on half power mode still. The gain is around 9 o'clock, whilst the treble is up just past 12 o'clock. The mid-range is just past 9 o'clock, and the bass is up on 12 o'clock. The presence is just past 12 o'clock. The reverb around 8 o'clock, and the master volume is cranked up a little bit more on this tone, and we're up to 1 o'clock, around 1 o'clock. The tone I wanted, as I said, I wanted to have a little bit of bite and a little bit of break up, but scooping the mid out, I wanted it to sit back a little bit more in the track. I didn't want it to be, really prominent, and, some of the sound of the 12 string for the, the tones to become too overpowering. But I think it's a great, another great tone to demonstrate with this amplifier, and another great application using a 12-string guitar. So let's check out that tone. Okay, now let's look at tone number 4, and for this tone I'm back on the Music Man Reflex guitar in open G tuning. For this tone I'm using the bridge humbucker split. I'm using this coil with the middle coil and I'm running those in series. I'm also using a slide, trying to give a little bit of a nod to Joe Walsh, but the main idea was just to have another texture within the track and, you know, just another application for using this amplifier. So for this tone, I wanted to have not too much gain, but enough drive. Obviously, it's a single coil tone. I didn't want it too bright. I wanted a little bit of upper mid-range sort of honk to the sound, but I definitely didn't want it to be a thick sound with a lot of low end. So I'm on half power mode. I'm on channel 1. The gain is at 3 o'clock, the treble is around 1 o'clock, the mid-range is around 2 o'clock, the bass around 11 o'clock, the presence is at 1 o'clock, and the reverb is just past 9 o'clock, and then we have the master volume up somewhere between sort of 10 and 11 o'clock. Anyway, let's have a listen to the tone. Okay, now let's take a look at tone number 5. This is our final tone, and this is the main guitar solo that you hear at the end. This is on my main guitar, my Music Man Axis Super Sport, and this is in regular tuning. On this guitar I'm using some slightly different pickups to the regular ones. These are Damasio 36th anniversary PAFs, so they're quite low output pickups. So I always prefer that kind of sound. I don't like to drive the amp too hard with the guitar. I like to appreciate the sound of the wood of the guitar and the amp. I'm a little bit more old school, I guess. So this guitar fits perfectly to that kind of classic rock guitar sound, that that nice thick lead tone. So for this tone, I'm on channel 2. I'm set to the high mode. I've got the gain set to 3 o'clock. The treble is around 12 o'clock. The mid-range, I pulled that back. Wanted a little bit of a scoop sort of sound to the solo. Wanted it to sit back a little bit. So I've got the mid-range control set to around 9 o'clock. Bass is at about 2 o'clock. Wanted quite a thick low end to the tone. And the presence control is at 1 o'clock. The reverb is way down around the 7 o'clock, and the master volume is on 10 o'clock. So let's have a listen to the tone. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video and my interpretation of classic rock, and enjoyed listening to the variety of different tones that I've achieved from the Fillmore 50. Stay tuned for our final video in this series. Part 5 will be coming your way very soon. So thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye for now.